don't need to guess this one. Because I know, because I just said it's the Beijing Derby.
Good for you, good for
You
you.
know, it's Beijing. And
it's much easier when I can actually read what it says on the bottom left corner.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
Welcome back, ladies
that's how
and
I
gentlemen.
actually know most of the time.
We just took a quick break. Of course, I'm BB. This is Clement, and we are going to come into you what is sadly, a formality for the side of JDG. They are out of playoffs.
Yes, it did happen, as we mentioned, during
Press
the
F.
WE series. After W secured their path, JD Gaming no longer had enough slots left in the top 8. And they will be out of playoffs. However, that doesn't mean they cannot play Gauntlet. They can still play into the Gauntlet, and they were second place during Spring Split, so it's actually very hard to overtake them. This is what our current playoff picture would look like. Congratulations to IG. They are going to be in that 6th and 7th place spot. IG themselves are locked to 6th and 7th, but Suning could still be overtaken by LNG theoretically.
We'll have to wait and see. Of course, Suning play LNG tomorrow, so they could still swap around. RNG still, though, and that's the big thing we got to talk about, can still take second place from top esports. FBX locked in first. Even if they lose top esports tomorrow in a 2-0, they still have the game difference score to be able to get that one sorted for them, no problem at all. But RNG right now need a 2-0 win, and they need a top to have a 2-0 loss. And then they leapfrog.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to be a 2-0 loss, but currently they have a 3-game difference between them and Top Esports, and also Top Esports is up by 1 point, by 1 full match as well.
I was gonna say, if it goes to head-to-heads, Top Esports own the head-to-head.
That
so
is
there you
also
go.
true.
It has to be by game difference.
Oh,
that's the kicker. So for RNG, winning 2-1, not good enough. Top Esports losing 1-2, not good enough. Has to be 2 quick 2-0s. They're going to be fans of FBX tomorrow. Yeah,
this is incredibly important for RNG because like we were talking about, if RNG want to leapfrog JD Gaming into the Gauntlet, they need at least a 3rd place finish in playoffs. And what that means is if they start from the semifinals, they only need to win 1 BO5 and they will have a chance. Now, this is Beijing Derby. We made this at the start of the day.
I was going to say, just to preface anyone wondering why it's kind of an X out, JD versus RNG was supposed to be our first match of the day. Sadly got switched around and we had to change some graphics lastminute.com, but thank you so much to Yadong. That looks, I actually love it. I think it looks great. I think it looks fantastic.
So they are fighting for pride, and this is an incredibly important match for, I think, the story of RNG overall, because this is exactly where they left off in spring. JD Gaming were the ones to pretty much destroy them when it came into the playoffs. We were looking at RNG to have a comeback victory, and what happened was Zoom, pretty much by himself, throughout the playoffs was completely unchecked, and that really built on the narrative that RNG cannot put up a fight in the top side. It was kind of the question at Worlds when they dropped to G2 and Wonder, and that became the narrative after they then lost to JD Gaming. Zoom had a 10-kill match at the very end of that. Absolute dominant performance. So that's a great point to check in. Have RNG actually changed?
And that's the thing. We are going to see Zoom, of course, in the game today. It is not Morgan, who they brought up from their LDL squad. But I kind of see the Zoom pick as kind of a little bit of a homage to kind of say, by the way, remember playoff spring? And you know, like on this Kennen, Zoom was just a monster. Yes, he played incredible on the Kale as well. That's kind of the more famous one. But just in terms of like actually getting into the heads of RNG, the Kennen was the most consistent thing in that playoff series.
And you have to remember what happened in that playoffs. Essentially, RNG had to retire 2 top laners because of Zoom. Amazing J a little bit before that, but Zatai came out of retirement just to play the playoffs, and promptly after the playoffs, he announced he was retiring again. So
I'm back. I'm gone again.
Yeah, so Zoom is the one that really started this entire roster swap for RNG. Now, of course, they have Langx and Love ZZR coming in to fill out the top lane. Today, they will be playing with Langx, and it's a great chance to see, do they now have a fighting chance into the top side? Do they have a potential to keep the top lane split pushers locked down? Because in their most recent series against BLG, ADD had a massive series. He destroyed them 2-0, and it all came from the top lane split push. So we want to see if this is still a persistent issue for RNG.
And that's what I was just going to bring up. Like, you look at RNG as a whole, as a team. Bot lane, pretty damn solid. Got a pretty good AD carry in Uzi. Known throughout the world as probably one of the best AD carries ever to play the game. Fantastic. Karsa, still one of the best picks in the in terms of jungle picks. Xiahu, it's the year of Xiahu, according to RNG. Top lane has just been this, you know, unfitting piece of the puzzle that's just never really worked out for them. They've tried changes. They've tried bringing Zatai back from, you know, from like retirement. That didn't work out. And then you've got so many different things. It just seems to be a core issue for the side of RNG, and it's something they need to fix if they're going to try and make it to Worlds.
They've already had 5 top laners this year alone, so it's a big question here. But looking at RNG this split, the bases have stayed relatively similar. The top lane does not get much resources whatsoever. 20.6, that's ranked 14th in the LPL out of 16 teams. So you can definitely see that even Langx, who was a 4-1 split pusher, is still going into the same results. Now, what RNG have been doing quite strongly and what has put them into a position at 3rd or 4th place has been their early game leads. They actually have a great control of the early game. If they have a lead in the early game, they hold on and win the games 95% of the time. So very, very consistent with their leads, in thanks to Karsa, in thanks to Xiahu having a great split. So the way we look at this is really if RNG can get a lead, snowball to bot lane, they still have a great chance. However, if they collapse early and top lane's not going well, not so much.
Let me see now what the JDG announcer has got for us today.
This is League of Legends television. We are in Beijing right now. We have a live report for you. Today is the Beijing Derby. RNG is coming into our stadium. The Devil Dog does not look happy. This is also the last game of the split. We're sure that JD Gaming will bring out their best performance to face their opponents. First, we have the away team, RNG. Langx, Karsa, Xiahu, Uzi, and Ming, your starting roster today. Of course, your coach Steak in the back. On your screen is Coach Steak, and he is still chewing bubblegum like usual. That is DX Master, not me.
Full disclosure.
Yep. And now is your team captain, Xiahu. He had an esports stream starting at 3 years old. And he has led the team in the team chants, as usual. Now we have to give the pressure over to our home team, JD Gaming. The usual saying is that when two good teams face each other, it brings out the best of each other. So we hope today we're going to see JD Gaming with a magnificent performance. And our starting lineup is going to be Zoom, Kanavi, Yagao, Imp, and Lumal, with our coach home in the back. They know that they don't have much time left, but they're not fighting alone. They're not fighting alone. We're looking to see if there is an X factor that can bring JD Gaming a victory. Is today going to be a golden day or a crimson day? Let us participate in the Beijing Derby.
I like how they have two people holding up the background.
Yes, it really adds to the flavor.
It really does. It
we
really,
actually have two
really
people
does.
on the sides as well.
Like, oh, cool. So there's going to be a stand behind me. It's like, oh, that needs to stay up. Right, okay. Let me need stage hands.
I feel bad for the guys. They know that JD Gaming don't really have a chance to make playoffs anymore, and you can see it in the disappointment of the Devil Dog.
But of course, you know, they are no longer in playoffs. This is the last game for the summer split. Of course, Gauntlet's still very much on the cards for JD Gaming, depending on, very likely, it's not confirmed, but very, very likely. I think it's something like, I haven't done the 100% math, but I think it's like a 76% of all scenarios they get into Gauntlet. Like,
they basically need IG to go to Worlds, just like, summer finals, so, and then a bunch of people to kind of, like, there's like one very specific scenario where they don't make it, basically.
And we give a look at the summer stats as well for both these sides. You can see the win percentage is a little bit, unfortunately, below 50% there for JD Gaming, and of course up around the 70s for RNG. And overall, it is a tale of two very different teams this split. RNG definitely looking like RNG always do, which is very, very solid. And then, of course, JD Gaming, sadly, coming off of the high that was Spring Split, not quite living up to expectations.
Yeah, and the biggest stat that you have to see is the lead at 15. That percentage gone drastically down for JD Gaming. Only 1 out of 3 of their games do they actually find themselves in a leading position at 15 minutes. And that was a stark contrast to what they had when they had Plid on the roster. They were known as the first blood team of the LPL. Now, they're actually much slower as a team. Their games go much longer, and that has caused them, insurmountable amounts of pain. It hasn't had the best performance in their lanes themselves. On the other hand, Ming has been doing incredibly well as of recently. #1 in terms of his wording stats. I wasn't able to catch most of the rest of it, but he's been doing very good on the initiations as well. Tom Kench comes to mind. That's always a fun one to watch, and I wonder if he has. So does he still have that Gragas in his pocket?
He's got to be there. You know, it's like that. You know, kind of the thing you always keep in your bag. You're never going to use it. It's like the umbrella. You're never going to use it or anything like that. But you just want to keep it there just in case. You know, just in case of a rainy day as such. But ladies and gentlemen, the crunch means we are going into picks and bans straight away. JD Gaming on the blue with Royal Never Give Up on the red, and we see Olaf, Nautilus, Ezreal, Silas, and Ayumi all knocked off. Pretty much standard bans, except for that Ezreal, of course. Uzi, probably one of the best farmers and late game scalers in terms of AD carries we have in the league, if not the world. They want to make sure he's not on something that's incredibly safe, like that Ezreal.
Yeah, Uzi has been playing for the later game. This is Let Me on your screen, prompting a lot of cheers from the fans right here. And we also saw the Tristana earlier against BLG. So you can see Uzi going back to his hyper carry. It does look like RNG overall as a team are doubling down on the fact that their identity is going to be the team fight. Their identity is going to be the fact that they have Uzi as a hyper carry. Don't expect much to change going forward. Now, looking at JDG, you always want to take Gragas away from Karsa. I think that's his best champion by far. On the other hand, RNG still keeping their options open with a double flex with Karma. I don't think we've seen Langx actually pick this split.
Got the Karma, got the Xayah as well. Still be on JD Gaming to really try and find some kind of answer to Uzi's pick. And overall, JD Gaming, you know, they're playing pretty much for pride, but they're also playing to kind of, you know, we call it the, you say derby, which in my head just makes me think of horse racing. Oh. And derby makes me think of an actual matchup, like the Manchester Derby, you know? Oh. Yeah, see? It's two different things. The derby makes me think of a lot of horses are running in a circle. But JD Gaming, this is a derby for them. They do not want to lose. It doesn't matter if you're last place or first place. You do not want to be the losing side on this one. You want to do it for pride and kind of show, like, look.
It's the Battle of Beijing.
It is the Battle of Beijing.
You need to represent for your city. You want to be,
absolutely.
Hey, you want to be the Lakers, you know, rather than.
Exactly. But only that, you could also deny second place finish from RNG, hinder them a little bit, you know.
Ooh,
so rivalries do thrive within these. Let's have a quick look at the picks that were picked up. It's going to be Vladimir for RNG. Have seen Xiahu and Langx using that pretty well throughout the split. And then it's going to be the Lucian and the Gangplank picked up for JDG. So overall, teams looking fairly damaged team fight orientated.
Yeah, Vladimir has been one of the staples for RNG this split. Not a lot of teams play Vladimir top lane, but it's a very safe pick with your pool, with your phase rush, and that's why RNG runs it so much. It's just because there's not a lot of jungle pressure on the top side. You really need something that can survive. So we're going to see them pick that up once more and throwing more bans into Yagao. Yagao's been a great Jace player. Has always been known for his poke. And it does look like JD Gaming themselves are going to go for a bot dive heavy type of team comp. They're going to have the explosive, the ultimate from the game plan coming down, and also very easy to tower dive with the Gragas coming in from behind. So RNG want to take away those champions that do give strong mid lane priority here. for strong mid lane dive potential here.
Of course, focusing the Rakan, of course, you do not want to give the Rakan-Xayah combination, especially to Ming, who is a pretty damn good Rakan player in his own right.
Yeah,
looks like it's going to be the Rek'Sai as the final ban.
The two best Rakan players we have are pretty much on your screen right now. Ming and Luma have been on point with this champion. And RNG are going to look for a... Let's see, they still have a potential top lane support or jungler here. There's a lot of flexes that could actually be done here. Like you were mentioning, Vladimir also has been picked up by Xiahu before. It does look like it most likely will be just the Karma mid. It makes more sense in terms of gaining lane priority. Vladimir plus Sejuani doesn't sound that good in that regard.
Could see the Gragas go on the side from JDG to the support role as well. We'll have to wait and see. They've got the bursts now available to them with that Zoe. So if you combo in a late game Zoe and a late game Gangplank with a potential Lee Sin going to be locked in here now for the side of JDG. There's a lot of burst damage available to you, and it is going to be the Gragas going to support for the side of JD Gaming. And now what is RNG looking to do to respond? They could throw the Karma down there, but I would like to see something maybe a little bit tankier. Could go with the Tahm Kench as well.
Yeah, still have a couple of options up here. I think the Vladimir most likely just going to the top lane. Karma against Gragas doesn't feel great, to be honest. I feel like that's a lane where like you maybe can keep your lane shoved out and prevent the tower dive, but I really do see RNG needing more initiation on Ming's part. So they're going to go with the Volibear instead.
And I won't lie to you, I'm not a fan of it. However,
No.
I have been educated as of recent days. I did some digging. I went and figured out why this pick is so, you know, we've seen the memes, of course. It has some incredibly strong kill potential towards that bot side.
True.
And if you can get that Xayah rolling, especially into something like a Lucian Gragas, you have such huge amounts of just burst damage potential within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game. Even level 2, your burst potential is insane. So I actually quite like this. You said they were missing a little bit of initiation or follow-up alongside with the Sejuani. Now they have it with the Volibear in the bot lane.
All true. However, I will counter that if you don't get that in lane, then most other initiation options are better outside of it. So
you know what?
We should see a lot of visits from Karsa.
I don't care about your counter. I'm going to go ahead and say that it's all right in this particular instance. And, you know, again, we have seen it, of course, do well. We have seen it do poorly, more so than not. Of course, I think it's a 33% or 34% win rate overall globally as a support pick. But it is something that the side of RNG could utilize. And like we say time and time again, when, you know, when there's a rough patch for the side of RNG, which there currently kind of is, they did lose fairly convincingly to BLG, they rely on Uzi, get Uzi ahead, get Uzi the gold, and that's how they like to play these games.
I'll be honest, I'm actually pretty worried for RNG's draft this time around. I feel like JD Gaming have a lot more scrap potential just in the early and mid game. With Luma, if he's willing to roam across the lane, you have Gragas, Lee Sin, and Zoe going around the jungle. That's not something even a Karma Sejuani can really face down, and not something that Volibear can even follow up with roam.
We'll have to wait and see. The Beijing Derby, the Battle of Beijing, is about to hit the riff for game 1 of this best of 3. JD Gaming just playing for the bragging rights, whereas RNG playing for top 2. And let's see what they can do with this. You can tell fairly equal chance on both sides, just purely because we, like we said, we are in Beijing, the home stadium for both these guys. Yes, it is JDG's stadium, but RNG is just around the corner.
Yeah, very close to each other. Beijing, of course, a massive city. I actually just went to the RNG arena a couple days ago.
How was it?
It was pretty fun. They actually have a much larger stadium than even compared to Shanghai, and they have a massive outdoor screen where you see toddlers up to grandparents just watching outside. It truly is a pan-age, pan-demographic event.
Similar to
Beijing.
I think it's the Hill. Did you ever watch tennis in Wimbledon? Have you ever watched tennis? They have this like literally, I think it's called Hemlock Hill or Murray Mound. I think it's called after famous United Kingdom tennis players. But they basically use it as like, you don't have to pay to come in. If you couldn't get a ticket, that's cool. y'all just watch here and hopefully there's a good game going on at the time. You don't want it to be like everyone in Beijing watching you while you're getting your ass beat.
Which unfortunately I had to watch the BLG series, but that's okay.
So an interesting little bit of runes here for Xiahu, actually going with the Unsealed Spellbook over a Airy or Comet start, and I kind of like this. Shows the utility that they're kind of like affording over on the side of RNG.
Yeah, this is very roam focused. We see the Min and Dematerializer as well, so he's really looking for those opportunities to just leave the lane, and I think we're going to see Karsa actually set up for him quite a lot, because if he's pushing in early, that Lee Sin is going to be quite deadly.
And to see what he is able to do with it. Kanavi as well, going to have to try and see what he can make done. You talked about the Lee Sin in the draft, going to be on him to have the agency, to have the, you know, kind of early game ganks as such as Karsa is on this Sejuani. Not a bad ganker, but definitely not as prominent with the burst that you would have with a Lee Sin. But of course, two scaling top laners, we could just probably see slaps all over the, you know, kind of top lane for the first 15 minutes. They both look to scale and pick up their first item or two.
Yeah, and as per usual with Karsa's early clear, you're typically going to see the top side kind of just holding on its own, dealing with the wave, push underneath its own tower. And this is typically how Langx kind of starts falling behind a little bit.
Gragas gets caught out. Good trade damage there. Only cost him a little bit of HP, but had got some procs on his Relic Shield, so able to heal that one up pretty damn nicely. Of course, Gragas great in terms of just general sustain on his passive. Every time he uses an ability, I think it's once every 8 or 9 seconds, he gets himself a percentage healing, so it's going to be pretty okay in that lane. It's very hard for the side of RNG to really make anything stick unless they're fully committing. Yeah,
the HP buffs to Gragas earlier in the patches was something that we believed would herald back the return of Gragas into the support role. There's been a lot of good Gragas support players. Ming especially, I think, was one of the best Gragas supports. He played it off meta for a long time, so I was always looking forward to that one, but I'm glad Liu Mao is now picking it up as well. I think a lot of people are looking for strong, just like tanky initiation supports after a lot of them were actually nerfed out of the meta. So, you know, we've seen Liu Mao go back to the Bard, go back to Leona a lot, and now it's Gragas. All of these are welcome in the meta.
See what the Lee Sin is able to do. Kanavi trying to find the Sejuani anywhere he can, but good clear here from Karsa means that he goes in, just knows there is no camps to be taken, but of course, no information is still information, of course, just indicate that the Karsa would be towards that top side. You can see things coming in now for the bot lane. They're just going to try and jump in on top of this Volibear and Xayah. They will use the heal. Not quite sure if it was needed or not, but the TP going to come in as well. Zoom gets jumped on. He will be locked down. Use the orange a little bit too early. TP was used by Yagao, and here comes Langx to reply. They're going to jump straight in with the flashes. They are going to burn both summoners from both mid laners. Ends up being first blood just to RNG.
A very difficult path to actually predict coming in from Karsa there. His top side did not have any camps whatsoever, just walks in towards Zoom, and even though Zoom blew both of his removed Scurvy and the Flash, wasn't able to escape from that one. Just not a gank you expect that often coming from a Vladimir lane, but good timing to make it work out.
So when we talk about Karsa, arguably one of the best junglers in the LPL, if not the best. You could definitely have that argument towards him. And it looks like knowing that there is no more Flash or Summoners available to this Gangplank, he squeezes himself through to that Tribush. And now will be spotted out as they know he's there. But Zoom going to try and see if he can do anything with this. He has got the orange available to him again. Will use it just there. Flash in with the Hemoplague as well. And Zoom, this is what I call a tilt-a-port, because they just tilt you off the face of the earth once you come back into lane. And there's going to be an engage coming in from the bot side, but I don't think there's much JD Gaming can do off of that. Great awareness from Karsa.
And I really think that speaks to RNG's kind of answering our questions. Can they go over what held them back in Spring Split, and just throwing attention into that top lane, making sure that it doesn't collapse under the pressure of Zoom himself. And it also kind of shows you how Zoom and JD Gaming have been playing this split. A lot of the times, Zoom just doesn't seem like he's on the same page with his jungler, and vice versa as well. There's a lot of early deaths coming in on his part. Like you were saying, that was such a weird timing to be that far pushed up into his own lane without any jungle help, without any summoners. So just kind of bizarre, and all said and done, a little bit too easy for RNG to pick up.
Tilt-a-port.
I like that term.
You know, I'll put it in the dictionary someday. Can't take full credit for that. Got to give it to a friend of mine, Selenote. He did. He's the one who coined it for me. Anyway, years and years ago, as we were playing League of Legends back in like 2012, I think it was. But we see now a gank here from the support of JDG. A lot of burst damage as the Ignite comes down as well. But there is the Glacial Person going down as well as the Cannon Barrage to try and disengage. But Yagao taking so much damage. Karsa realizes that he has got a kill on the plate and picks up the 3rd kill for RNG.
It really starts a really strong start for them. They were a bit off on the damage calculations for JD Gaming. Couldn't really finish off the kill before the flash was available. And Cannon Barrage not able to save that either. And now what I'm looking at is RNG actually have a massive power spike coming in from the top side. You see Langx, he does have that extra teleport. He does already, he can basically go to the bottom lane whenever he wants to. And once that Hemo Plague is up, there's a lot of burst damage that's going to go there. And there's no Cannon Barrage to equalize that out. So I really see RNG trying to find the next move in towards the bot side.
You can see the idea here from JD Gaming is great because they have got the burst damage. They're just not quite able to keep him down for long enough.
Yeah, just did lack a little bit of the damage, and also Xiahu did cleanse out on the Ignite. So, you know, good use of the spellbook there. Keep himself alive.
Utilizing that utility. Able to kind of keep himself safe within that mid lane. That means it is going to be 1,500 gold lead before the 10-minute mark for RNG. And RNG now, they want to have a convincing series here. They want to try and stamp their authority, and it's not guaranteed that they get top 2 with a 2-0 here, but it definitely puts a lot of pressure on the top esports who are going to be going up against a high-flying FPX.
And we can see RNG with their topside advantage in the teleport and the ultimate. They're already setting up for the Drake. If they just move there, I don't think JD Gaming can actually follow them at this point.
Have to see what the call is from the side of JD Gaming, as they are starting to fall behind quite a bit as Karsa jumps in, and actually going to be jungler for a mid laner duos coming in, but there's a good Dragon's Rage. And it's going to be a simple kill for the side of JD Gaming. I just don't think that Xiahu was expecting the burst.
Yeah, outplayed completely right there. Xiahu was the one actually going for the pincer onto Yagao. Didn't really work out, and that's actually a massive timing window. That means Zoom is going to get his ultimate up before the Drake can even be considered.
Is it the Cloud Drake, so I don't expect it to be as high a priority from everybody, as we see Redemption going to be used and picked up again, which is silly. Hang on now, hang on. We just saw her use a Redemption, and then she picks up another Redemption?
It's got to feel bad for Xiahu. He just died, doesn't have teleport, and then Yagao just gets the fastest wave clear possible.
Literally possible. Now 15, 16 CS ahead, has got a literal W that can impact the map globally alongside that Cannon Barrage. So, you know, it feels bad, man. And RNG, though, they're going to still be pretty happy with the way this early game has gone. They've clearly decided that they need to try and go for something towards this top side. And like you said, answering our question of can they deal with this top side mismatch that they've kind of set themselves up for the entire season, entire last year and a half almost. And it looks like the answer seems to be just kind of see if they, you know, the option right now is to try and, you know, give Langx some kind of, or, you know, or Langx some kind of assistance, but working out relatively okay. If the Vladimir gets far enough ahead, it should be fine. But they've got full vision on the Sejuani backing. That means the Cannon Barrage goes down, and they have got Kanabi here. He will have his ultimate soon, but not soon enough.
I mean, you can see JD Gaming being very sneaky right here, not touching the ward. So RNG actually don't know they're there. And Zoom with a really good in the brush ward. I'm pretty sure that that move should have been spotted by Langx. So Karsa kind of just showing up there was probably planned. He was kind of like telling JD Gaming, you know, you probably see me, but I'm just going to make sure Langx is going to be able to reset the wave.
We'll get the teleport out of Zoom as well. So use that to go back up to the wave and try and deal with this pushing Vladimir, who is stacking that cooldown reduction. He's got the Athenes and Holy Grail finish up for Xiahu in that mid lane as well. Fairly cheap and effective item. That is a nice little buffer towards those mid-game skirmishes like we talked about. We'll see what RNG are able to do with it. Haven't really seen much of this Volibear. Still yet to commit his flash engage to anything. But overall, still relatively in a relatively strong position for RNG.
I actually think that JD Gaming are gonna start overtaking in the next couple of minutes right now. You see Lucian already with the item advantage. They have the vision control over the river as well. So I actually do find JD Gaming actually in quite a favorable position in the next fight. If they so find it, just going for the bot lane right now would be very powerful. And you see RNG with the counter. They're actually sending their bot duo towards mid.
They're going to try to locate the Rift Herald. You see the Chemo Plague dropped here. It's just going to be a massive wave clear situation for Langx. And then they're going to go on straight onto the Rift Herald. They've already rotated their bot lane up, sending Xiahu towards that bot side. Get Vladimir some time as well to reset his lane. They will trade objectives, but overall it is power now for RNG versus power later for JDG.
I'd say definitely a favorable trade for RNG. They avoid what essentially was a power spike for Imp with his completed item. They go towards the top side, but they will have to pay for the bot lane tower here. So essentially trading away towers and trying to nullify the Zoe here, who's had a very good time in lane.
This is interesting as well. Not going towards the top side, just full on committing towards this mid lane. They've got Volibear off to the side, no vision on him whatsoever. Has got flash available as well. They will now know that he's there. Not going to hit the Glacial Prison. Very, very close, just missing it by a whisker. As you can see, 3 turret plates are going to be the reward for RNG, but while that's all been happening, Imp has been stacking up on those plates in the bot side, so he picks himself up a nice bit of gold as well. So overall, JDG equal out the gold. They're not too unhappy with the fact that this Lucian is going to have that mid-game power spike.
Yeah, this is a clutch safeguard coming in from Kanavi, diving out on the ultimate. And you can see how concerned RNG really are with this Zoe getting out of place.
Oh, Kanavi comes in off the back end. Xiahu flashes, but the Q had landed. And that's going to be a free kill going over to JDG. And like you said, you favored them a little bit coming into this mid-game, early mid-game. And they are starting to show their power with this pick.
Yeah, that was a bit of a wasted flash coming in from Xiahu, we have to say. You can technically dodge out of the Q2, but a very specific timing window to do that. And Kanavi finds an easy kill plus a tower here. And you can look at the turret platings. JD Gaming are going to go up even more after that one.
Won't be able to pick up any turret plating off that last one, but we'll pick up the first tower gold. So more and more gold being shoved into the pocket of this AD carry as he goes back and picks himself up a full BF sword after only just picking up his Blade of the Rune King about a minute and a half ago. So on a pretty good trajectory to pick up an Essence Reaver relatively soon and become that dueling master that we know Lucian's become. And we'll see now what RNG's response is. Gold is now actually swung in favor of JDG, and it is a bit of a scary situation. You're looking at down the barrel of a lot of burst potential coming out from JDG overall.
And if you look at the mid lane, things have just gotten worse and worse for Xiahu. He missed out on another wave in the bot side. He was already rotating there late after Imp denied 2 waves there. So he's currently at a close to 50 CS deficit. That's pretty big this early into the game, and likely the reason why you saw the Herald Wisp being dropped in. It's like, okay, he's out of control.
Well, even then, like, kind of a setup for everybody to go for. As we see now, Sleepy Triple Bubble going to land in the pool. There's the kick, there's the Q, there's the flash, responded to. And that's going to be an easy kill. Got to give props to Kanavi. He's been everywhere he needs to be on this map. And as RNG look for something in this mid lane, there's the explosive cast and the culling just to clear the wave. And JDG just bat away RNG as if they're a fly.
This is shaping up to be the perfect storm for RNG. They don't have any side lane priorities. Their bot lane tower is already gone. Their mid lane's very ineffective right now compared to how strong Yagao is on the map. And their only answer in these circumstances have been to try and drag the game out. If you look at how long RNG games have been going, they're around the 7th longest. They really prefer those late game team fights at times. And I think JD Gaming is going to have the run of the map for the next couple of minutes. They're going to be setting up very strong around Baron. And the kind of bread and butter play for JD Gaming is just to hang around Baron and wait for someone to eat a Sleepy Trouble Bubble.
Ming needs to be careful, gets chunked down to about a 3rd HP. I was going to say, passive gets procced. And that means that is no crazy regen for that Volibear anymore for about 60 seconds or so. They will trade top tower for bot lane, but like you said, Xiahu not really in a position to fight effectively. Yagao just so strong on this Zoe as of the moment. But I think that's kind of the strategy they're trying with RNG this game. You see a very active strategy from them. We'll see, let's see if we can shore up this top lane deficit. Let's see if we can do something for our top laners. And I don't want to discourage them from trying it, but at the same time, if it means they throw all their other lanes to the wolves, I don't think it's worth it.
That definitely isn't worth it. I think the Herald into mid lane was kind of an emergency option. Once they, like, the Xiahu death into the double redemption wave clear was very detrimental. Not only
it was unfortunate.
Yes.
It was just a bad RNG flip, sadly, for the side of RNG.
Yeah, because it actually did cost them a lot of experience there as well. And RNG were like, okay, Zoom's a bit too far ahead. They dropped the Herald. It was defended. And then Karma goes into bot lane and gets towered over again. So, no, things going very wrong for RNG just with that one play. And JD Gaming have done a very good job of continuing to trade, continuing to equalize, continuing to set up vision. And this is just not something that RNG can contest at this point.
Yeah, and you probably see a lot of people seeing the Volibear and maybe claiming that it was, you know, oh, that's the reason why if they do lose this game or if they lost the early game. But honestly, the Volibear hasn't really been given a platform to make anything happen. We didn't really see, you know, the side of RNG go towards that bot side at all, whereas Kanavi has been pretty much everywhere on the map that he's needed to be, at the right place, at the right time. Mid lane tower does go down in favor of RNG, so they have opened up the map a little bit. They equal out the turrets as well, but they do lose an Infernal Drake over to the side of JD Gaming.
Now the mid lane turret, always very important because you have the option to then shove in the mid wave before going into the Baron pit. So you buy yourself a bit of time, you have a bit more pressure on teams that are just baiting out in the brushes. And Karsa is in a good position if he can find Imp. Imp's going to back off instead.
For RNG right now, it's all about stemming the bleeding. You've got yourself a Vladimir who is relatively CS'd up, has got some decent items on him with the Spellbinder, and obviously will potentially, most likely going towards that Morellonomicon as well as the Protobelt, excuse me. You know, to kind of cap him off for 3 items, but it will take time. It will take a couple more minutes for him to really get towards that. He's estimated about 25, 26 minutes. He should have those 2 extra items completed up, but in the meantime, you've got a Triforce on your Gangplank. You've got 2 items now on your Lucian going towards his second or his third and a Zeal. You've got a lot of really high burst numbers coming out from JD Gaming, and I don't really think you have any answers for it on the side of RNG.
Not really. JD Gaming have a far superior CC chain, and this is so important in the jungler because whoever gets hit instantly just dies, and you get a numbers advantage off of that. So RNG right now, they're ceding large swaths of territory over to JD Gaming, and with JD Gaming, with their Blade of the Ruin King, with their control here, it is very feasible that they start Baron at some point. Not a lot of good check options for RNG, and you also have to remember, JD Gaming is the team that figures out the most ways to take Baron with 2 people.
Yes, they are proficient at that particular setup,
yes.
I do believe. If we were going to call anyone an experts at the 2-man Baron, JD Gaming would be right up there with the best of them. But, of course, it is not over yet. RNG still in position to be able to go for it. But Ming, like, that's 1 barrel. That's 1 barrel taking away a third of your HP, and you have to also look down at Paddle Star, the Lucian who's on 2 items. Like, I just don't know if this Volibear is going to be able to survive as a front line.
I don't think he will be able to. The thing about Volibear and why I don't really like him compared to other melee supports is just his initiation outside of lane is quite difficult. He's very, very flash dependent on getting any sort of engage going, unlike Karsa here, who's just clearing out the wave actually.
Yeah, using it so that they cannot get the tower, and also they are not able to pick up Uzi, who was caught underneath the tower. Did have to go back off of that as well. Has got the heal and the flash, so probably shouldn't die, but you never know sometimes with the way some of these CC stacks. And now the mid lane is under siege from JD Gaming. However, they do not have the Zoe or their Gangplank in this lane at the moment, so they're just going to back themselves up. And this 1-3-1 setup, they've got the siege available to them. They just need to keep RNG separated, and they can't utilize this Karma.
Yeah, the most important one to keep in check right now would be Langx with the Spellbinders. And wow.
It was just a culling. It was literally just a culling.
Imp showing up and telling RNG who's boss. Imp always shows up for playoffs. He had such a good playoff run in Spring Split.
But I got to tell you something really unfortunate right now. Imp is not going to playoffs, Clement. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I didn't know how to tell you.
I know.
That's why we changed the game to tonight.
RNG pretty much right now, they're just waiting until they get that Infinity Edge, and that should give them enough damage to at least burst through, you know, like Zoom, Kanavi would fall relatively quickly.
Now they have got it now, so Baron has spawned as well as we hit 22 minutes into this game. It is still only a 2,000 gold lead for JD Gaming, so they are still not out of the woods yet. You still have a lot of pretty big like team fight damage available to you if you're RNG as well, with the Hemo Plague and of course the Karma being able to skirmish as well. But it looks like the Gragas could be caught out. Actually, I say that, it's going to be Kanavi caught out, but he does get the safeguard away. Culling come out just to keep everyone off of this, and the Dragon spawning in 35 seconds looks like it's going to be the telling point for both these sides.
Yeah, this is really well done by Lumal to use his explosive task and basically separate RNG, and you can see one of RNG's hallmarks in this type of scenarios where they're getting split push upon. The way they react in their side lanes is they just have to hard shove their lanes out and then look for initiations. And what this does is that JD Gaming over time actually builds up CS leads on their split pushers. If you look at Yagao right now, it was 40 CS in the laning phase. It's already ballooned to around 70 CS. And that's just going to get worse and worse if RNG cannot find their initiation.
Ooh, Yagao trying to find an extra bit of poke there with the Paddle Star, not able to get it. It was not his own flash, was one he picked up with the W as well, so not the biggest of investments to lose. And you can see JD Gaming have positioned themselves to be able to try and take this Dragon. They know it's being taken down now by the side of JD Gaming, but RNG with the Arden Sensor and the 2 items on their Xayah want to be able to fight this. They will be able to try and push Kanavi out of the jungle as well. Dragon not going to be finished off just yet. It looks like it's going to be JD Gaming going to be the ones forfeiting this objective.
Yeah, but they are eyeing the prize and just trying to take the mid lane tower instead, which would be a favorable trade. However, I believe Karsa's ultimate is almost coming up. Timings are going to be pretty close.
There we go. We're going to see the teleport coming in from Langx as well. They do get the Lee Sin kick out of Kanavi is at the start of it, but he goes in with the Hemo Plague and the Tides of Blood, try and get some more damage down. The Cannon Barrage just to try to slow everyone down, but Vladimir's deleted. They trade top laner for support. Karsa is nowhere near this, and now it's a 4v4 as the rest of the fight comes in. Yagao does get a lot of damage, but that is a huge culling onto the backside of RNG. What? But a fantastic flash and blade caller from Uzi brings RNG right back into the fight, and they will be able to pick up the rest of these kills. Double kill for Uzi. Zoom is also going to be forced to flash, and that's going to be Baron.
Insane positioning from Uzi. He gets the flash after blade caller and takes away Imp's life. Imp could not react to that. Still had his flash up, dies in the ensuing fight, and you know, that was a massive turn for RNG. They're getting beat up by JD Gaming the entire early game. That was the team fight they were looking for.
Great turn, and when in doubt, look to Uzi. The man is not considered one of the best AD carries ever for no reason. He is clutch in those situations, and perfect flash into the blade caller like you called about. I want to see a full replay because it was actually a pretty split up fight.
Yeah, and it started, you know, with JD Gaming actually landing a Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto Uzi. I thought that was going to be the end of the matter, you know. Imp had a great Blades caller. Everyone had to tank for Uzi. I
was going to say, and also the fact that, you know, the Vladimir goes down so quickly. It was just an insane start that kind of like was 4 for 4, but hopefully we get the replay for that very, very soon. And we can see it right here. It's actually just going to be Uzi's point of view.
Oh, wow. POV's always a treat. He actually beats out on Yagao's HP bar. Oh, and that's the blade caller we were calling for. Just going onto the side of Lucian and pulling the feathers through his dome.
I gotta say, Xiahu just positioning himself very, very nicely. Now, despite the Baron going over in favor of RNG, JDG did pick up a death cap now and a rapid fire cannon, so they are actually still in a very, very strong position. Black Cleaver as well for the side of their jungler, but if they get caught out like that, it's not going to be good for them at all. Cannon Barrage is invested as well as the ensuing fight comes in. Ming does not have flash available to him as they go back in on top of this fight. They're looking to see if they can get the Hemo Plague down to as many as they possibly can. Explosive Cast does knock Karsa back into the side of JDG, but they do not have the cooldowns as of yet. But Xiahu forced to go golden. Do they look for anything else? They do get the flip back there onto Yagao, and they just try and take him down. They're forcing the pool. There's so many blinking health bars, but in the end, nobody else goes down. And JD Gaming, oh, they're trying to get this damage down because you can see with the death cap, this Zoe is just so dangerous.
Yeah, it's way too massive at this point, and it's a rare scenario where you see the team with Baron buff actually getting pushed in and cornered like this one. Even without Lurmal, they were able to push RNG fully off of their towers. I think at this point, RNG just don't have enough good initiation options without Karsa's ultimate. Like, as long as they know Sejuani's in check, they're pretty willing to set up pokes.
And you can see just Uzi when he can't dodge everything, unfortunately, and he just gets everything on top of him.
So that's what happened during the
him.
replay.
Unfortunately, I didn't even notice that he wasn't even there, to be perfectly honest. But again, RNG, with that Baron, pretty much only take a 600 gold lead. They're looking to try and maybe crack open this top side turret, equal out those turrets to 3 and 3. Should be able to pick it up without any real contest. And right now, 3 items on Uzi. You've got 3 items on your Karma. You've got nearly 2 items onto your Vladimir. As I say that, they flash in, they get the engage, but a great explosive cast is not good enough. They're looking for even more. JDG look like they might have just been absolutely caught with their pants down as RNG turn on the go button.
Yeah, Zoom did not expect that. Didn't have the cooldown timers for the flash on Ming ready, and that was a very easy kill for RNG just walking in.
And they're going to keep going. They've got 20 seconds left on this Baron buff. They will get the cooling out there. Karsa tanking up a little bit of that, and they will break open JDG's base. 28 minutes. It's a lot longer than we anticipated coming into this. And RNG will take that inhibitor as well. So far, so good. Dragon spawning in 20 seconds.
Should just be the inhibitor for now, and Yagao's looking for those chase down kills. Watch that again. Ming just walks, he just walks straight forward to it. Zoom did not expect that. You can't really cleanse out of a knock up there, and they have the takiness to just follow through even underneath the tower. And this is actually huge now because we do see Uzi coming back in with the Quicksilver Sash, so he's less prone to being sniped out like he was by Yagao. And they can siege now with a lot more confidence.
You got the Zeke's Convergence. You've got, of course, got the QSS as well as the Locket. So this is a protect the Uzi comp if I've ever seen one. You've got Karma, everyone doing their part, and if Langx can really get his his ultimate off onto a big one, then we swap over to protect the Vladimir because he is sitting himself on a nice amount of AP with that death cap newly picked up. We will see the Hex Flash there from Ming. Didn't really expect him to kind of get anything from that either, but overall, this is not too bad from the side of RNG. They have got themselves opportunities, but still a lot of danger with those that poke from the paddle star coming out from JDG.
The key thing for JD Gaming's defense right now is if they can predict where RNG is going to rotate towards next. I think in the last push, we didn't see Yagao show up there, and that was the main difference maker. If Yagao can just show up and have like 2 rotations, lands one of them, it instantly cancels whatever RNG can do on the siege right now. And even with RNG in a very strong vision position, we've seen Yagao kind of reverse that. Just with a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, if you're there, it doesn't matter if you have the vision advantage. He will follow up and still have the ability to go back on the portal jump.
Stopwatches being picked up as well. Vladimir and Sejuani picking up those, as well as the Lee Sin and the Zoe that you just talked about for Yagao. Is going to have to be dealing with this wave. When you pick up a Proto Belt, it's not that hard to deal with the wave clear as such. And we'll see what RNG want to go for. 25 seconds until this Baron spawns. You imagine that's the next objective they want to go for and push in the last few lanes in this game.
With Zoe being that fed, RNG cannot really bait. It's very risky. So what they want to do is actually just push the vision line out long enough and then instantly turn for Baron. I don't think baiting is going to lead too much against the likes of a Lee Sin, against a Gragas that can pull things in. So just turning around and rushing Baron, I think is a better option here.
Vladimir sitting in base. They've got wards that he can TP to. Ming going to use his Hex Flash up the wall to try and keep everybody away. They jump straight away onto Gragas. They're not going to be able to get him as he flashes away. They're now looking for full engages. The TP came in off the backside. Zoom's forced to use his cleanse to get away from that. And a great heal from Yagao. Able to keep himself alive. And overall, ends up being a lot of summoners committed there from the side of JD Gaming, but they still do not have vision on this Baron.
And we do see Yagao going back. He does have a teleport in hand. He's just holding on to that, defending on his base first. And RNG are actually going to use the Ocean Drake to get in a better position here.
Yeah, they're going to use their Ocean Drake to try and, sustain up back on top of this. Still no vision there for the side of JD Gaming, but they know it's been going down. They have not got full vision of it. Now they turn straight away back on top of Kanavi, who goes golden. We talked about those stopwatches. Here's Yagao, but it's a little too late. But you can see him just pushing in the damage. Great paddle star there onto the Vladimir as well. But the Baron finishes him off, and now the rest of JD Gaming can look to try and turn this fight around. They do get the stopwatch out of Xiahu, and JD Gaming are going to be able to push RNG back. You cannot underestimate the damage that this Zoe and Lucian are able to do.
Yeah, Yagao just showing up in 2 places at once, and they're still hunting down that lone target. Are they going to find Uzi?
They're going to try anyway. He's going to have to use his ultimate as well. Does get the blade collar, but this time it's not going to be enough to save him. Karsa flashes away. He's just trying to play keep away, keep those death timers as short as possible. He will have the potential to get away with the blast cone and the Arctic Assault, but that's going to be Baron now for JDG.
And that was such good calculations onto Yagao. He went back for 1 wave, cleared it out, teleport back into the fight, and even though they lost Kanavi early on, there was enough damage, enough poke to come back onto it. You rarely think about how much damage the Lucian can do just with the culling at that type of range and see it being used as a poke tool.
Yagao just using his stopwatch there to keep himself safe, as we did see the Glacial Prism from Karsa, but this was just such a long, extended fight, and overall, the cooldowns just weren't in RNG's favor.
Yeah, Kanavi stayed alive for a very long time, and that pretty much allowed Yagao to get this masterpiece back onto Langx. After that happened, they pretty much had to back out as soon as possible. And I kind of question RNG's play call right here. I feel like turning back probably wasn't the best idea they could have gotten, because even if they got Kanavi, it was still very suspect if they could survive the ensuing poke from the rest of the team. So if they wanted to get an engage, they needed it onto a carry that would just break JD Gaming's back. But even though they lost their jungler, they still had all of their combat prowess in check, so they could hold off RNG on that one.
Now the siege comes in. This is where JD Gaming really do shine, with terrain around them and plenty of angles to throw out trouble bubbles and paddle stars. It's going to be very, very difficult for RNG to really defend against this. You can see the barrel starting to do some damage as well. Swing and a miss there, and Xiahu has to go golden just to try and keep himself alive, but he goes down. Explosive cast not going to be able to hit onto anybody, but the cannon barrage committed means that this minion wave is going to keep pushing. RNG staring down the barrel of what could be just a 3rd place guaranteed. They cannot lose a single game, otherwise they are just in no way able to contest top esports. As right now they are looking at, it looks like JD Gaming just want to end the game.
Yeah, RNG still looking at it. Good ult onto Kanavi, but he backs out okay.
Yeah, he does get himself out, and that's the first Nexus turret going down. The poke is just so real. They've got double cannon minions as well, and the Gangplank is still putting down the damage. They flash in, they want Yagao, they will get him. It's a shutdown there, and here's the Hemo Plague as well. It'll not get enough of damage though. They're still trying to push this out. They will not lose the game just yet, but they've lost a hell of a lot of their base.
JD Gaming has actually been doing a very good job of disengaging from these fights. They have a lot of good tools for this. The Explosive Cast, the Dragon's Rage. Every time RNG has been able to find kills, it's only been 1 or 2. And JD Gaming has been able to keep the momentum for a long time. So critical thing for RNG, they really need to hit JD Gaming during the siege. When they're grouped up, they really need Langx to come in on a great angle on this one. This was a bit of an overreach from JD Gaming. They've only had 1 kill here, and Yagao finds himself in a flash volley bear. Gets caught off by surprise right there without his own flash. And that does buy them some time.
The only problem now for RNG is last defense, that last pick, like you said, was the flash coming in from the volley bear on Ming. Does not have that to his advantage anymore. Does not have that available to him to be able to catch anybody out. Summoner's coming back up for pretty much everybody bar that 1 flash that is on Ming. And we can imagine that the next fight will probably be around either the Elder Drake in 4.5 minutes or the Baron buff in just over 2.5 minutes.
Either way, JD Gaming is going to hold on to the map control, and with a Zoe that fed, it's going to be so difficult for RNG to actually gain any map presence. They need to be very careful approaching any of this, and the best way that they could use it is, I honestly think they need a little bit more trinkets if they're playing up against JD Gaming with such a massive lead. 1 trinket currently one blue trinket, excuse me. It's not going to really help.
Oh, here we go. There's the ultimate going in straight away, and they're able to burst down. Not quite able to get him. What? Gragas keeps himself alive with the passive health regen he got from his body slam, and that's a big ultimate tool now lost for the side of RNG. They do not have the Glacial Prison. They have to hopefully wait it out and look for an engage when it comes back.
That's an energy drink by Gragas if I've ever seen one. Very clutch going outside. He was burning down from the red buff, still keeps himself alive, and that means that he can still control the vision over on the Baron side. Only 2 minutes away from that one.
Let's take stock of everyone's items right now. You've got nearly four items for the Zoe. You've got 4.5 items for the Lucian. You've got an IE Essence Reaver Triforce, and anything else you need for the Gangplank. He is online, but of course on the other side you do have to pay respect to this Vladimir and Xayah combo. She's gone super defensive with the GA, the Phantom Dancer, and the Quicksilver Sash. So if Uzi can't kill anybody, if he gets killed through that, JD Gaming, they deserve the win.
Yeah, like Uzi is just going full protection mode, trying to keep himself alive as long as possible. And I think for RNG, it really relies on the two remaining members with the flashes up on their initiations. Langx actually has a really good ward at blue buff. If you look at that position, that is perfect. So what RNG are probably going to set up right now is for JD Gaming to be the ones that start the Baron, and they will have a perfect flank opportunity straight into the Baron pit.
All summoners available, apart from the two flashes on the supports. Great spot on that ward. We'll have to see if that does play a critical part for RNG as they look to try and defend this Baron, which is spawning in 30 seconds. Vision control is pretty 50-50. Top side of it belongs to the side of JD Gaming. Bottom side belongs to the side of RNG. But RNG want to change that. They want to be the ones that dictate this one. You've now got a Gargoyle Stone Plate on your Sejuani. This Sejuani has yet to die. Full 100% kill participation. Karsa's actually had a fantastic game. But he just needs one more engage, needs one more setup to really kind of send it home for RNG. They do take this Baron fairly quickly, but it looks like they're not going to go for it straight off the bat. JD Gaming are ready, and the ultimates and summoners are available. There's the first trinket going to be used by JDG as they look to see if they can try and get this one. Langx is just hovering off to the side. They do not hit the Glacial Prison, and now Karsa are going to take a battering from the Culling. That's a good explosive cast as well. The Redemption comes down alongside the Cannon Barrage, and RNG are in full disengage.
I don't really like the RNG idea to just try and rush down the Baron at this point. Their engage is very circumspect, and also the poke damage from JD Gaming at this point can just delete their carries if it ever finds their mark. So if RNG want to rush it, they do need a lot more distance between themselves, between JD Gaming and the Baron pit. They need to push them further out if they ever want to look for that play.
The only positive they have right now is Karsa getting chunked out isn't a big deal if they're able to disengage. Has got the Warmog's armor as well, so he's able to regen himself up. Top lane pushing in favor of RNG, bot lane pushing in favor of JD Gaming. Mid lane inhibitor has respawned. TP going to be committed here by Yagao to get himself back into position. RNG and JD Gaming both posturing themselves around this Baron pit. Neither wants to give it up, but neither wants to fully commit either.
Very tense situation, but I want to see how the situation changes when Karma shows herself into the bot side. That should be a very clear signal for JD Gaming to then sweep out the entirety of the river. Indeed, both teams are moving there.
Karma just threw out a Mantra Q just to make sure she cleared the wave. Now going to be making her way back in towards that mid lane. Very quick for the Karma to do that with the speed up as well. They are going to be able to see that bot lane turret go down though overall. So JD Gaming pick up some passive gold, but they do not need it. As you can see, they are just so damn powerful already. But now the vision control is now swapping over to the side of Elder Drake. Not as risky to start that one up, doesn't do a heap of damage. The side of JD Gaming now testing RNG. Do you try and challenge us on this? 41 minutes into the game. Elder Drake has been started, but here we go. Ming jumps in with the flash and the knockback. They do get the Glacial Prison as well as the 3-man Hemo play as Ming goes golden as well. They're trying to get the Cannon Barrage, and JD Gaming will get the first kill. Will look for more, but they got Langx on the backside. Xiahu is still alive, so is Uzi. Vladimir goes golden. They will take out the jungler and the support, but it is all JD Gaming. Yagao is still healthy. Yagao has still got the damage, and Yagao and Imp are wrecking RNG.
He's got two flashes here.
He's got two flashes available for him. If he's able to go for it, doesn't look like he wants to risk it. He's going to go straight towards that Elder Drake. They trade 1 for 3 in favor of JD Gaming.
RNG initiate onto the ramp, but it was too easy for Luma once he wasn't killed 100-0 to then just throw out his ultimate, and 3 people were knocked back away. So very good disengage coming in from Luma, and that pretty much saved the fight right there. Langx was left alone among multiple JD Gaming carries, and they were able to clean up that fight.
Locket of the Iron Solari not used by Karsa either, so possibly could have been caught up in a lot of CC, but that's going to be the Elder Drake straight into a Baron for the side of JD Gaming. They now have both buffs. It's going to be incredibly difficult for RNG to defend against this, but let's see how that fighting started.
RNG knew that they had to start something earlier on, but going on to Luma, probably not the best of targets, couldn't find anyone else. A great explosive pass. That sent Karsa forward, the carries backward, and it was untouched throughout the majority of the fight. Langx tried his best to claw something back here, gets the empowered Q, but still not enough to save the rest of the team. It's just too hard for Uzi to go forward up that ramp.
Playing into a funnel like that to really kind of, you know, set up the barrels, the piercing lights, the paddle stars, you're just asking and inviting JD Gaming to go in on top of you right there. RNG do lose effectively the fight. As you can see the damage this Lucian's able to do. Imp is having a monstrous game.
Wow, he out-damaged Uzi by a factor of 5 in that team fight.
Yikes.
It's pretty ridiculous. Of course, he did have a lot of free damage onto Sejuani in the front line, but you know, it's really rare to see Lucian doing that kind of DPS. Usually you think of Lucian as falling off in the later stages of the game.
Has gone with the relatively, you know, I think it's a 75%.
It's a standard build these days, but still,
relatively
not
high
to have
crit.
that much.
Yeah, relatively high crit, and you, oh my god, those barrels are doing nearly 1,500 damage. As the mid lane siege now starts for JD Gaming, they have got 40 seconds left on this Dragon buff. I think if you're RNG, you got to give this one up.
Yeah, not much you can do right here, and there's only one Nexus tower standing for RNG. Any member falls down, gets hit by Sleepy Trouble Bubble, it just lights out.
These crits from both the Gangplank and the Lucian are starting to hurt, as are the Paddle Stars. We see Ming. Whoa! Swing and a miss from Karsa, and that's going to be the go sign for the side of JD Gaming. They know they've just got so much damage. They've got all the potential to come in on top of this. The Nexus turret does fall, and now the side of JD Gaming are just going to keep away the side of RNG away from their base. Nexus turret are down. Nexus is exposed. Can they catch out Imp? He picks out 1 kill. He will go down on his own, but it doesn't matter because the damage on the Nexus is all that counts. JD Gaming take game 1. RNG out of the top 2.
Wow, and what a massive comeback for JD Gaming after what was a pretty smooth early game from RNG. A lot of what happened really hinged on the way that Yagao got that early game lead and how RNG responded to it. I felt RNG pressured themselves effectively to deal with the situation. Now, they did find the engages, and what happened was the side lane players really just took off. They were out of control after the couple of groupings from RNG. They spent all of their players into the mid lane, couldn't find the kills there, and then Yagao just walks away with a massive CS lead. So does Zoom in the game. They control a very strong presence with their poke composition, deny RNG from the Baron Pit multiple times, and ride that into a strong victory.
And we'll see now, JD Gaming, it was a great game from them. They knew exactly what they needed to do, but, you know, disappointing from RNG. They are on a bit of a slump, and even after giving so much resources to the top lane, we're still seeing an issue with top lane.
I honestly felt that they overreacted to how far ahead Yagao was. Like, honestly, they did have more time to think about where they wanted to place the Herald. They didn't really need to go for the mid lane. If they traded the top lane, there was no way JD Gaming could defend that. That could actually just pull back a tower advantage or equalize the tower advantage right there. And also, if they let Langx farm up a little bit more on the side lanes before calling him into multiple engages and taking away from farming potential, I felt like they actually would have had a better chance going later into the game. It just feels like RNG You know, we talked about them as once they had the gold lead, they almost locked down the game, but it seems like they're overreaching to secure that gold lead.
It did seem cagey. It seemed like they kind of were just like snatching at whatever the hell they could find, and it didn't look like the RNG that we know. The RNG that went on this, 7-game win streak, and it just felt like they, like you said, they were overreaching, they were overcompensating for something that didn't need to have such a knee-jerk reaction.
I felt like they could have sat with Zoe's advantage and just try to play the game out and farm up a little bit harder in that sense. If you think about the team fight compositions, I would still say that RNG had a very good team fight composition. It was built for the 5v5. Very strong front line, good flanks. You have Karma buffing up the Xayah. And instead, you kind of let JD Gaming with the skirmish comp run away with too big of a lead.
Yeah, we'll have to see now if JD Gaming are able to finish off the series with a 2-0, or if RNG can bring it back in Game 2. We're going to throw it to a quick break.